Hello, my name's Hannah Farrington.
And my name's Rebecca Whitehead, and welcome to part 3 of our Renters' Rights Update.
So another question, lots of landlords have heard that they don't have the right to refuse pets.
Yes, so this is quite a big one actually for people. You will not be able to unreasonably withhold permission for the tenant to have a pet. So that's the wording. So what does that mean? Now, if what would be reasonable? What would be a reasonable reason for you to say that you didn't want a pet in your property? There's a number of things. The property might not be suitable, and all of these things. You must remember that when you've got your property available for marketing, nobody can force you to accept a tenant with a scenario that you don't want to accept. If for any reason that's not suitable, then we're going to have to say no. But we're going to have to be reasonable about why it's not suitable. So why isn't it suitable? Probably because maybe the property isn't big enough for 2 dogs or whatever that situation might be. It might be that it's a flat. It might be that the type of property fundamentally is not suitable. It might be that you're moving back in 12 months and actually you yourself are allergic to pets. And that's just not something that you can do. But yes, you can't unreasonably withhold permission for tenants to have pets. Now, how will that look? Because what's really important is you might move a tenant in who doesn't have a pet, and then actually 6 months later, they ask you if they can get a cat. That's when it's going to be really important for us just to look at the situations as they crop up, because you can't unreasonably withhold in that situation. If you do, the tenant is going to have the right to go to a tribunal and to see if that was fair or unfair. And that is a process that you'll now go through. And the other thing that has changed since we've seen this come further, since this act has come further, is you will not be able to charge anything at all in addition or insist that the tenant takes out a pet insurance policy. Those 2 things have very clearly not been added into this act. I think never has it been more important for you as a landlord to have a managing agent or to mimic what a managing agent would do if you're doing it on a let-only basis. It's really key that you understand the points for this, because actually what we will do as a managing agent is we will make sure that if there are any pets at the properties, we will perhaps keep them on 3 monthly property visits. We'll put an extra protection in place. And the reason for that is we'll be able to pick damage up more quickly, because you're still going to be able to serve notice if there's damage. But if there isn't any damage, why should you be able to serve notice? So actually, we need to be able to pick up on those problems as quickly as we possibly can and have it documented correctly.
Okay, great. I've also, lots of landlords have heard they can't accept more than the advertising rent, and there's no more rent up front. Is that correct?
Yes, both of those things are correct. So you can't accept more than the advertising rent. So is this going to become a big problem? For us and the market that we operate in, it's not really that much of a common thing that people ever accept more than the marketing rent. But, I'm not going to say that it never happens. So there are times that the market is ever so busy or a particularly high interest property comes on the market. And at the moment, what would happen is 3 or 4 people might see the property. One might want to make their application stand out by offering above the advertising rent. We will now no longer be able to do this. So what do we do about that? It's absolutely key that you talk to your agent and you are using a reputable agent with absolute local knowledge. So those initial advertising market rents are at the premium rate that they should be to ensure that you are achieving the correct rent. For us at Gascoigne Halman, we manage a portfolio of a couple of thousand properties. We have all of those as comparable. So if you ever found yourself in a position where somebody was questioning the market rent, we would have all of that evidence to be able to support that for you. We would never put you in that position.
Okay. And no more rent up front?
No more rent up front. It's a real difficult one for me, this, because I actually think this is quite difficult for tenants, bearing in mind the whole of this legislation is put in place to protect tenants. Unfortunately, I think this is going to have an adverse effect. At the moment, there are some tenancies where tenants fail referencing. In the market, the real market, the economic climate at the moment has meant that rents have increased at a much more fast rate than salaries. So actually, within any reputable lettings company, when you go through a referencing process, a tenant has to earn 30 times the monthly rent. So they have to earn that annually. If the rent was £1,000 a month, the tenant would have to earn £30,000 a year. Now, what that has meant is that lots of tenants are actually not passing their references. So what can we do? We can get a guarantor in place, or in the past, we've been able to take rent up front. So there are some tenants that have been in a position that they've been able to say, well, look, I've got 12 months rent up front. I could borrow that from family members or however they wish to fund that. That now is not the case.
I suppose there are tenants as well that have moved recently to the area to a new job, so they've possibly not been in their new job for very long, or they could have had bad credit in the past.
Absolutely. Retired tenants. We've in the past, we've dealt with a lot of retired tenants who actually do have the savings. So they do have those savings, and that's a way that they've been able to pay the rent up front. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. And I do unfortunately think that's going to be a bit of a sad thing, that less tenants will be able to have the option to rent in that way. Thank you for tuning in today, and please follow us on our YouTube channel for the next part of the series.